Well, hello and welcome everyone to the Darkening of Mirkwood, session 114. When last we left our heroes, in the aftermath of the siege of Mountain Hall, the survivors, together with the newly arrived woodmen of Tyrant's Hill, gathered their dead. The goblins, the wargs, and the Skadogangas were cast off the cliffside, while the fallen woodmen, together with the elf and the dwarf and the berserk who had fallen aiding them, were laid upon great funeral pyres, and as the smoke of their burning rose into the air, funeral dirges were sung and played, and in the morning, in mourning, the company found their hearts lightened. Afterwards, Mogred gave very generous gifts to all those who had aided in the siege, and to the company gave actually quite generous gifts to Aldefons particularly was given a set of gold and garnet sword fittings, which might be a component for crafting a weapon of great worth. After these gifts were distributed, Mogred then turned and gave the greatest gift of all to Hartmund of Mountain Hall, offering him the title of Earl of Mountain Hall. Now this was a somewhat unprecedented event in the history of the Woodmen, and Aldefons and Warsong particularly stridently argued against it. However, Mogred's personal charm, his charisma, and the fact that he had probably just shown up with an army and saved the place, all combined to basically convince the men of Mountain Hall to accept Mogred's appointment, and Hartmund was named Earl of Mountain Hall. And Modred, while he appreciated your feedback and your honesty, he encouraged you to join him. In fact, gave you specific instructions to instruct Lord Keowina to join him the following year at the Folkmoot. After this was over, Warsong and Aldefons returned their gifts, because they didn't want to be seen as though they were Mogred's lackeys, and probably will never just see anything that nice ever again.
Probably.
And after all that was done, you guys took about a week to rest and recover there at Mountain Hall before setting off with Balder, the Barding, who took Mogred as a patron for the party. Balder got some information from Mogred about where the men of Tyrant's Hill believed the Red Queen to be located, and you all set out across hill and dale, down into the Vales of the Anduin, as far as the Gladden River, towards a place called Old Hag Rock. And after a bit of to-do, you managed to cross the river and find yourself standing on Hag Island in the twilight hours of the evening. Just to kind of set the scene for you again, the Hag Island is it's a small rocky island that's almost too low to be an island. The fringe around the outside is quite marshy. One sec.
Jeremy, do you mean your camera to be pointing at your keyboard? Because it is.
Is it?
Oh, no.
I think that's just you saying that. Yeah.
I think, yeah, it's his face as far as I can tell.
Oh, all right. It must have been like lagged on my end.
Yeah, Jeremy does so much like head desking that his face does look a little bit like his keyboard, so it's an easy mistake to make. So
I moved it down when I was plugging in the headset.
Yeah,
so that was probably
must have stuck or something.
Is
So
anybody else getting echo?
Mm-mm.
maybe drop out of the call and try to join again?
Yeah, that's what I think.
All
I'm gonna
right, do
try
that. Do that real
to
quick, so you don't have to deal with it all night. All right. Is that any better, Augusta?
I'm still getting a little bit of echo, but it's mild.
Yeah, I don't know. All right. So so Hag Island is a small, low depression with a few large rocks. The largest of which is kind of rises up almost at an angle and kind of leans over, almost hooks forward over a deep green mirror, which seems almost luminescent in the twilight. Mirror being like a large stagnant pond, essentially. And the rock is pretty straight up. It's pretty steep up one face, but the back slope is a bit would be sort of obviously climbable. And you do see on the inside of the leaning rock what appears to be a cave mouth opening, about 2/3 of the way up the rock.
I guess that's where we go in. I mean, I don't see anywhere else to go.
Who has search? Because I do not have search. As we just don't want to be opening the mouths of caves out in the middle of the lake or river.
Times of coming and going.
You can give me hunting roll.
Can I see if there's any sound or sign of activity right now?
You can give me an awareness roll.
I was hoping you'd say that.
How about for my skill of the speakers to try to
Oh, interesting. Give me a riddle. Give me a riddle roll.
learning what kind of coming and going here. Dang it, I need to level up my riddle.
I get to roll the feat die a second time because of cigarette.
Sure.
You take the best one.
All right.
That would be a success, I think.
What's that?
So that would have been a success.
Yeah. So,
I also made a success.
yeah, you guys successfully get a Gandalf. All right, so we'll start with you, Warsong. Sigaroon begins kind of snuffling around on the ground, kind of back and forth as he slowly makes his way to the edge of the mirror, which he begins to slowly circle. Based on your... you do see a pair of tracks. It's probably about a day or two old. Certainly made by something man-sized. Probably a man wearing boots. But more than that, it would be difficult to say. Sigaroon is also kind of circling around the mirror and whining. Aldefons. As you kind of peer into the twilight, a slow mist begins to roll up from the river over the island. It's not very thick, but it's just thick enough and high enough to kind of obscure everything from the waist down. As you kind of peer over this blanket of the cloud as it rolls in, you think you can hear, and it could just be a trick of the water, but you think you can hear the faintest singing coming from the cave opening.
Oh, that's not ominous at all. Is the rolling fogs very dramatic? Anyone else
And-
hear a little singing? No? Just me? No?
Kelly, and then Kelly Mirith, you are going to use speakers to listen to the water and the land, I assume.
Yes.
Hold on. I thought I had this pulled up. 1 second. When you kind of drop down onto your knees and stretch out both palms, press them into the marshy ground, you listen to the slow lapping of the river and the sounds that would normally for your human companions basically just indicate the sounds of nature. For you, begin to take on patterns and meanings. But the voice you hear is not anything like what you had expected. What you expected to hear, what you've heard in the past, is emotions, almost thoughts. Animals don't have emotions quite like we do, but they tend to express themselves not so much in sentences or paragraphs, but in kind of a single projecting thought, a single projecting memory, a focus. And that's what you're essentially would be used to from the land and from the river as well. But here, it's not like that. Here, it's more like listening in on someone talking to themselves. Because what you hear in the motion of the waves and in the gentle lapping of the pool as Sigaroon kind of noses into it and starts a ripple with his paw before kind of whining and backing out again. You hear a voice that seems to be saying, "They imprisoned me here. They locked me away behind their watchers. But then someone came. Someone came and broke the watcher. And nothing will stand in my way again. I will not always rule this mirror. I will return to the river, and I will rule over all between the mountains and the sea. Come in, elf of the wood. Come in and bow before me."
Oh, here we go.
You know, last time somebody asked us to bow, it didn't turn out too well for the worshiper. Just saying.
It's
Um,
true.
All right. Well, I
He
will.
does have a small fortune in his eye, though. Or in place of. In his eye, however.
Um. Well, I stand up, rather shaken and wary, and kind of back away from this lake, and I tell my companions what I heard. So this sounds like I've heard those stories about the Mirror Maiden in, is it Black Tarn?
The river maidens near Black Tarn Hall, or near the Black Tarn and the Dusky River, yeah. This
I
definitely
heard that
seems something like that.
Dust was in love with one of those. Can't be all bad, I guess.
Well, this one I would not say was benevolent.
Well,
Was it singing by any chance?
Well, I didn't so much hear singing as creepy whispers.
Oh, good. So two of us are hearing things now.
so she does call herself the Red Queen. So this isn't exactly unexpected. It's unfortunate she knows we're coming though.
She being the mirror maiden you've met before.
If it's the Mere Maiden, maybe this is the Red Queen who you're looking for.
Well, so you don't know for sure that they're one and the same, but you're guessing maybe they are now?
That's right.
Oh,
You're looking for someone who would likely command us to kneel before her because she calls herself Queen.
Right.
This woman apparently has similar thoughts on the matter.
Well, is indeed here in this cave, and if she is indeed expecting us, you should also be expecting for the unexpected.
All defense?
I'm still trying to process what Miles has said. But I don't think that mere maidens are the army type. You know what I mean? I mean, that seems sort of a land thing. And they don't do, I mean, maybe a navy. But,
Did they have that word in that time?
well, sure. Well, no, I think there's only one thing to do. It's either go home or go up. When I'm standing down here getting hungry and tired and generally muddier.
So I've seen one pair of footprints going in, booted.
Yep.
And none
Going
coming
into the-
out.
But going into the hole?
Heading around sort of up the backside of the rock.
I think I would like to look around the backside of the rock and kind of generally see what's around.
Okay.
I will go with her.
Yeah.
As you kind of walk around the backside of the rock, you can see that it's actually a fairly... It's still a sharp slope. It's about 45 degrees. But it's not just sheer rock as you might have expected. It's actually, there's soil, kind of loose gravel covers about the bottom half of it. And you see a few shrubs kind of growing their way up. You could probably, if you climbed up to the top of the rock and then lowered yourself down by your rope, you could probably swing into the cave mouth.
So there's no other way to get into the cave mouth but, like, swimming in?
Swing, not swim.
No, but, like, I guess I'm wondering why you would want to do that. Can you
Uh,
just walk
sorry,
through
let
it?
me...
The way up?
Yeah, let me try to explain. Let me try to explain better. So, like, if this is the ground, the rock is set up like this, okay?
Yeah, I get that.
But the cave mouth is like 2/3 of the way up here.
Oh, okay.
So you'd have to
Not
climb
exactly.
up a 45-degree. Doable, probably for an elf, but
Or Smeagol.
yeah, or Smeagol. But if you lost your footing, you'd fall into the mirror below.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, anybody got the rope, Andy? Also, just to be clear, it sort of seems like this would be a difficult place to Well, I don't know, run an army out of. I mean, probably pretty secure, but I mean, don't you have to like send messages and know things?
Baldur's gonna see if he can scale up and get into the mouth cave.
All right, so you going up the backside, or are you going to try to climb up the front?
I'm gonna try to climb up the front.
Interesting. All right, give me a athletics test. It's going to be TN 18.
I'm gonna go back down so I'm standing by the lake so I can watch him
Okay.
do this, and I'm gonna have my bow.
All right, Balder.
Son of a gun.
You sling your bow and your shield over your back, and you begin doing this basically the hardest way you possibly could. Most of it's very difficult at all to get purchase with your feet, and so a lot of time your legs are kind of dangling out from underneath you as you scramble, struggling to get a handhold. But after a few minutes, you make it up as far as the cave mouth. You can
That's some
see
pretty significant upper body strength.
it is apparently archery really pays off. Um,
Well,
There is what sort of appears to be an old spider web that covers most of the cave mouth.
okay, so now who has rope? That's a really good question.
Oh, what
Warsong would have
hope you
rope.
took it with you?
Well, I'm gonna. But
You could
well,
like.
Balder's actually asking that question at this point.
Are you asking that while you're holding on to the lip of the cave mouth?
No, I would figure he would be sitting on the.
In the mouth, right?
All right, so as you push up in there, you hear a and let's see here. You need to give me another athletics TN 18 test.
Well, let's see if I can do it a second time. Nope, I cannot do it a second time.
So here's what happens. A huge wooden boom swings out of the cave mouth, whacks you right in the face, Balder, and you go flying out of the cave mouth into the mirror below.
So this is like a boom that is like I'm thinking of those things that they use in Japan to ring bells. Those big
It's more like the
hung.
yardarm on a mast.
Yeah.
It kind of
Okay,
swings
so
around.
It more like swats him out rather than.
Yeah.
Okay, it's like rotating on an axis.
Yeah, just. Balder, you take 11 points of damage as you go crashing down, and as you hit the surface of the water, you realize two things very quickly. The first is that the mirror is fairly shallow, and the second is there are a lot of sharp rocks down here. And you fall probably about 6 or 7 feet before you find them digging into your back.
And I have realized that I cannot do math. Okay.
Oh, so.
Hey guys, I'm weary, and we haven't even fought anybody.
Are you saying
gone
that at the bottom of the
Very
pool?
humble.
Nicely played, Augusta. Are you saying that while you're at the bottom of the mirror?
No, Balder's going to get out.
Yeah, it's not too difficult to swim back up out, and you kind of pull yourself on, and you notice you look down at your clothing, your armor, your bow, which is soaked, and it's all covered now in the kind of this faint green algae.
Guys, there's a trap up there too. Or what?
No,
Figured it now.
I thought you was just trying to do a backflip and doing it really badly.
Well, maybe that too, but
What?
So where did the footprints go?
They went around up the backside.
Right, which I did also.
Oh, that makes me think that if you don't come in from the top, coming up over the ledge, you're going to be in face smashing range.
All right, so Warsong, following the footprints up the back of the hill, You got about a third of the way up before the loose gravel underneath your feet just completely gave away, and you found yourself tumbling backwards. I need you to give me a protection test against TN12.
Oh, this- oh,
This is not my work.
All right. The good news is that your leather corselet manages to mostly absorb the impact of the sharpened stake that you fell backwards into. That was concealed beneath the shrubbery. You do, however, take 7 points of damage. And you
Oh man, this
pretty
place has got
you pretty quickly
a lot of-
realize that the entrances to this cave seem to have been fairly well trapped.
okay.
Did I lose the feet? Or, like, did they disappear in the gravel? Or.
Yeah, the tracks kind of disappear once you get onto the rocky back of the slope, you know, and that's not necessarily unusual.
So who here's good at looking for traps?
I mean, I've got 2 in search and 2 in awareness.
Good Aldefins, because we're gonna need someone to look for traps before we go anywhere in this cave.
I
As
mean,
apparently even the entrance is booby trapped not with 1 but 2 traps. Or I guess he doesn't know about the other one. And with at least 1 trap.
oh, alright, I guess it's my turn to try and get up there. And I mean, if I lose any teeth, it's probably no great loss.
my evening full of things.
Thank you, Calamireth.
So, what are you doing there, Aldefons?
Oh, well, I guess I could try and do what Warsong did, since it looks like that's the way to do it. Maybe, I don't know, on my hands and knees with like a bit of stake in each hand, so I'm going up very slowly.
Do you want to give me a search roll
For
to see if you can identify a safe path up, or are you just going to try to go
oh,
up
that's
slowly
a good
and
idea.
hope for the best?
What's the TA for that?
TN14.
Okay.
Oh, look at that! It's my lucky day.
All right, so you realize that by kind of skirting around to almost the extreme right verge, you can avoid most of the loose gravel, which seems to be where the traps have all kind of been laid.
Oh, everybody, there's a path over here. I'm going to go up and find the trap that they've probably left at the top.
I'll follow Aldefins.
All right. So, kind of following Aldefons up the back side of the rock, you do finally get to the very top, overhanging which, you know, if you were to secure a rope up here, you'd probably swing right down into the cave mouth.
Well, though, I'm going to have to secure a rope.
I secure a rope.
Okay. All right.
Can I like lean over the top of the hole and see if there's anything like waiting to spike me the minute I come in through the top of this cave hole?
Give
Mouth.
me a search roll.
Okay.
Olifants,
Oh,
why
it's
are you...
just, I think this is completely fine.
Seems clear.
If you spend, it would be a great success.
Oh,
How much fellowship pool do we have right now? None? I know we burned a lot during that fight. You refreshed by now, right?
I think it refreshed at the end of at the beginning of this adventure. So yeah.
And
So
how
we
many?
would have...
4?
Yeah, should be 5 now.
thank you, Jeremy.
So are you spending?
Do you mind if I spend to see if I can actually see if it is safe for us to go in?
Sure. So then it puts the...
Algier doesn't mind.
I would say you're welcome, but I'm not here yet.
Well, I will thank the metagaming pigeon in your honor then.
The metagaming pigeon, Jeremy, refers to the fact that sometimes players give each other advice even though they're not present in the same scene together. And so it's always like, well, who's talking? You're not there. You know, it's a pigeon. It's the metagaming pigeon that sits on your shoulder and tells you what to do. Anyway. All right, so Aldefons, you kind of lean over with the rope as far as you can, and you look down into the cave mouth. And you're pretty sure that you don't see the boom that knocked. You don't see the boom that knocked Balder out, which seems to be an indication that perhaps it has rearmed itself.
Yep.
Oh, good. Well, either there's somebody resetting the traps or it rearmed itself very cleverly.
And so where the loose dirt is that like right above where this thing is swinging at?
No, the loose dirt is down kind of at about a third at the base of the hill and about a third of the way up.
I want to see if I can like find like an unconventional way in, like see if there's anywhere around where it might indicate where they may have placed that particular trap, like from the outside. If there's like any like hidden entrance or something.
You can give me a search roll.
Alright, well, in the meantime, I will attempt to be sure if I catch air that you all are watching.
I got a 0.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
good at this.
Oh, dang it! What is our hunt at now?
It's at 7 now.
What do we need to trigger a?
I think here it's like 14 or something.
Okay. Okay.
Elbow. Well, no, he's still hanging off the rope.
Oh, I'm not hanging off it yet.
You going over, Aldefons?
I guess so. Like
Alright.
I said, make sure you give me a score if I have to do a long dive.
Give me an athletics test.
Alright.
As you swing down in, you feel that.
I could
Have
make
you
a
ever
spin hope.
Oh, would you make a?
It's
Yeah.
a favored skill, so that would let me get 6 instead of 4. 3. So I could make it
You get a 15.
1 over.
Okay.
Uh,
Do you want to do it?
yeah, fine. That's what's
All right. So as you swing down, you know the sensation you get like if you're going through the attic or running through the woods and you hit a spider web without noticing it. Like that's what you feel, but it's much worse. This is a large web. But as you swing in through it, it kind of wraps around you, and you can just sort of like barely see the boom coming around in time. And you kind of hit the floor of the cave with a roll as it swings around your head, and you see it's effective, but, let me put it this way, ingenious design, crude execution. That there's basically this vertical axle planted in a hole that uses a set of ropes and actually bows as springs, and whips the boom around until it comes back full circle and locks back into place. And at this point, it looks like the release was being triggered by the spider's web that you kind of took out with your body.
Oh, well, I broke the trap, everybody. I think it's safe, but if there's somebody inside, they've now heard me and are probably going to kill me. So if you could hurry, that'd be nice.
I'm going to go in. I'm going to go in right after.
Am I still wrapped up in this thing, like laying on the floor, like?
You can kind
Follow
of
his trail to the top.
Okay.
Follow Oliphant's trail.
Yeah.
I mean, you watched him walk up, so you can go up the way he went. Yeah.
Okay.
I motion to everybody else, and I'm going to go
Okay.
in.
All right, you guys swinging around into the cave one by one.
Yep.
Yes.
All right.
Your song's going next.
Well, right after. Is it athletics? I assume we all have to roll athletics.
No, you don't have to roll anything. You just kind of let yourself slowly down the rope into the cave mouth.
Is there any way to get Sigaroon in there?
That's more. You are gonna have to definitely roll athletics if you're bringing Sigaroon in. It is quite logistically difficult.
Is it physically possible to bring it in?
Well, I mean,
Physically possible, yeah. You just have to sort of let him down on the rope.
I guess one of us could help too. So
I think I'll bring him with.
Okay.
So what's the?
Just give me an athletics test, 14. Okay. You let him down kind of with a bit of help from Balder. You let him down slowly on the rope.
Question.
Yes.
Would bold apply as far as checking off on skill groups? It's the third one.
Sure.
Thank you.
Sigrun whines a bit as you lower him in this improvised harness, and Kalimir has to kind of like reach him out and pull him into the cave mouth. But you do eventually get the whole party in there. It is quite crowded. This is not a very large space at all. It is a small, wet hole in the rock, and you definitely hear, still rather inarticulate, but you definitely hear singing now coming from down the hole. And at the back of the cave mouth, there's kind of a very narrow tunnel leading down. And you definitely hear singing kind of coming up from there, but it's inarticulate. But it's obvious at this point that it's human, and it does not sound pleasant. Like it's not a lovely voice, if that makes sense.
Wait, is this gonna be our hillbilly hobbits?
Jeremy?
I elbow Atlas and tell him, all right, you go first and make sure there's not any traps.
Wait, so I have one.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Before we go any further, I'm just wondering, should we check to see if there's any? Figure out what our escape route would be if we need to get out of here fast. Like maybe tie the rope so that we could throw it out. And
What game are
run
you
down.
playing?
Look at you doing something super intelligent.
I mean, if we're getting out of the cave fast, I'm sure we'll be flying out of that hole.
What, like you said, or you didn't say, but we noticed, there seems to be full of pointy rocks. I mean, I say that we do like the elf says and secure our exit in case somebody who doesn't sing well is also, I don't know, something, maybe as an army or something.
I'm thinking maybe we don't drop the rope down, but maybe tie it to something so that we could drop it down and escape. Because we don't want somebody coming up out of the cave to see the rope hanging there and being like, "Oh, there's people in there, obviously."
Oh,
Same would go for the rope coming over the top. If maybe we can't get at it, then it's too late for that. But
I mean, I've heard about elf rope, but if you like tug on it, it'll like come back to you.
yes, well, Trandul's storage room was kind of out of that when I came, so I don't have any.
All the big name wardens already got. Isn't that always how it is?
Haven't taken that wisdom upgrade yet.
Well,
I think it's actually an option if you play an elf of Lothlorien.
Oh, that's cool.
If it isn't, I can make it one. Too bad that's not a playable culture for this campaign.
All right, so
Exit secured. More or less.
What are you guys doing?
So Boulder thinks that I should go first, but I think he has the most experience finding traps.
That's not yeah, but I don't like the fact of getting hurt while finding these traps. You can find these traps while not getting hurt.
Alright.
I mean, what is it to look for traps? Would that be search?
Yeah, that would be search.
All right, what are you guys doing?
All right. Well, I think we're gonna search for traps and go very slowly moving forward.
Give me a search roll.
Search the traps, man.
No,
You're
well,
not-
don't say anything, but I'm not actually all that.
It seems
clever.
clear, Aldefons. All you can see is the darkness of the tunnel, and all you can smell is your own breath.
It's really bad.
hunting roll, looking for the footprints.
At this point, with the rocks beneath your feet, it's basically impossible. Like, the rocks here don't take a track. Sigaroon definitely smells something. His ears are pricked up. He is on the alert.
So would that be hunting? Because I was like, would the fact that I have a dog who can smell and hunt things?
I
And I
mean,
have actually trained him for hunting.
sure. Go ahead and give me a hunting roll. Okay. Yeah, I mean, Sigaroon definitely has a trail.
Okay.
More than that, but like at this point, you can't really tell what it is. You know, you assume it's the same thing you smelled before, but at this point, you can't really tell what it is.
Can we follow him?
Follow who?
Sigaroon.
Do you want Sigaroon to go
If
down the tunnel
Sigaroon
first?
And if he can follow the trail, though, if this is somebody who's familiar with the cave, they would avoid the traps, hopefully.
Oh.
If Sigaroon is able to tell precisely like where they walked, maybe he's not trained for that kind of thing. But
Warsong will go first with Sigaroon right behind her.
All right. Warsong, the tunnel is extremely narrow. It is so narrow, in fact, that you have to almost get down on all fours. And it's definitely not wide enough for more than one person to pass. The passage, as it turns out, is fairly cramped, pretty steep, and fairly short. And Sigaroon kind of goes ahead of you in the tunnel. And you can just sort of barely see his tail kind of vanishing into the darkness in front of you when you feel something beneath your hand. And as you pull it back, I need you to... Oh, yeah. No, this is too close to dodge. Okay. So, as you kind of pull up your hand, you look down, and there's a sort of a depressed lever that probably Sigaroon either missed or wasn't actually heavy enough to trip. As your gaze quickly darts up to the ceiling above you, and you see a huge stone. Like, if this stone fell on you, it'd be lights out. Like that. This huge stone suspended, and it begins to roll. And it seems to catch on something.
Is there like a giant idol at the end of this?
And for the moment, it is hanging above your head. Not sure what it's caught on.
Alright,
She's gonna warn the others and go forward with Sigaroon.
Okay. Who's coming in behind?
I'm right behind Warsaw.
All right. you kind of creep forward very carefully, Balder. And again,
Hold them where the lever is.
yeah. Oh no, this thing, the lever is tripped. The stone has just stuck for whatever reason.
Okay.
And you kind of look up, Balder, at this huge rock as it's kind of precariously positioned in the narrow chasm above your head. And it's just kind of, and you just kind of hurry on down the tunnel. Who's coming next?
Oh, fine.
So if this rock fell down, it would probably block the tunnel too. Is that what?
Aldefins, as you kind of, on your elbows and your knees, scoot your way down the tunnel, you look up overhead and you kind of look at the rock. And
Look at
you
me.
hold your breath for a minute. And you begin to move forward, and that is when it drops. And that's the last thing that you remember, Aldefins. Callie Mirith, immediately behind Aldefins, you hear a sharp crack above him as this huge rock drops down and just crushes his neck, head, and upper back beneath it. And he is just splayed out face first onto the path.
So am I dead?
No, you are unconscious.
Okay. Also, yeah. Cool.
You're unconscious. You
Okay.
take
What about this rock?
13 points of damage, and you're unconscious.
I'm not quite actually out of hit points. Endurance.
Because of the sort of the wedge-shaped chasm above you here in the cave, the tunnel is extremely narrow. But Callie Mirith, being rather nimble, you can sort of go up and over Aldefins and the rock.
Warsong's trying to get back.
There is no way you can get back around with Balder in your way.
Well, before I go up and over, is there any way to? Can I get him out from under? Or
Yeah,
is he...
give me an athletics test.
Okay, I'm gonna pull him backwards.
Yep.
And I'm gonna try and help her, seeing that I'm immediately.
All right, give me an athletics test as well, PJ.
No.
All right, one of you pushes on Aldefin's badly bruised head, and the other one of you pulls on his ankles and just kind of. There's just not enough room to work here.
This rock is way too heavy to try and like.
I mean, you could try to push the rock off of him, yeah.
Okay. Where would this rock go, though? That's a real.
It can
big
go
rock.
forward or backwards.
I mean, if I can move out of the way and you can push it backwards.
But we haven't all
Okay.
gotten in front of it.
Ben is even more invisible
Wait,
than
wait,
usual
wait.
at this moment.
Jeremy's character isn't there yet.
Okay, well let's try that then. Right now he's definitely not going anywhere.
What are you guys trying?
Okay.
I'm gonna step out of the way where rock.
Sorry, say that again. Say that again, Augusta. You cut out.
I'm gonna step back, and then Balder is going to try to push the rock backwards.
Okay, very good. Balder, give me an athletics test.
Let's try this.
Come on, man.
You got this. You got this.
Oh.
Balder, you take the rock, and it's a large, sort of a squarish shaped rock. It's actually kind of the worst shape for rolling. And you... you shove the rock, and the rock goes end over end, poof, onto the middle of Aldefin's back. And you hear a slight...
Am I awake now?
no, but you do take five more points of damage.
no, I'm down to 0.
Okay. What are you guys doing?
I guess we can both try and. We need to try and get this poor man out.
So can I help now?
No, there's no way you can get around Balder. The tunnel's too narrow.
I'm gonna back up and let Calimere try again.
Okay, so let me try to climb over then and push it off of him.
You would be pushing it back.
Cthulhu, just make sure you get his whole body here.
I mean, do you have any better ideas?
Not really. I'm unconscious, so no.
Can I roll awareness, like, as far as if I can't help with it, then can I make sure there's nobody creeping up on us from ahead?
Give me an awareness test.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Alright, well, I'm pushing this rock.
Seems clear, Warsong. All right, give me a...
Oh,
Would you like to spend a point of hope, Augusta?
Well, I would be fine with her spending township to get this rock off of her.
See, you just thought it was like all epic, awful sessions of being sacrificed to eldritch gods, Jeremy. Actually, most of the time, it's just dealing with being a complete idiot. That's most of what gaming is. Oh man, do you want to spend a point of hope, Kelly Mirith?
Can I spend Fellowship Hope?
I say yes.
Okay, so we'll spend a point of hope, which gets it up to 16.
Okay. Yeah, Calimir, you kind of climb up over Aldefons, and you get on the other side and dig your fingers in between the sweaty upper back of Aldefons, and it is weirdly sweaty, like cold and sweaty, and the underside of this rock, and with a mighty heave, you manage to roll it off of his back. Aldefons, you can catch your breath as
That's heart plus
I just
2.
just heart.
I threw up.
Elephants, are you alright?
Oliphant stands up, and you see him sort of moving his tongue around inside of his mouth. He reaches in. You see him pull out a tooth. Oh, it's alright. That one was sort of lonely anyway.
That tooth earlier, we could like get on their good side.
Oh, what?
That was actually not meant to be in character. This is just Augusta, who has watched one too many episodes of Supernatural talking.
Alright, so we made it past 2 traps. And good to see the doggies, alright?
I was wondering about this earlier, and now we have a rock, but this is probably super impractical. But I was like, you roll this rock down ahead of us to like trip anything.
Yeah, we need a good way to check for traps other than throwing ourselves at them.
I mean, if the thing gets wedged, we'll be sort of stuck.
But if we all came on the back side of it and we're like on the outside of the rock and then pushed it in, if we got stuck, maybe whoever's on the other side will also get stuck.
Oh, sucks to be you! Well, back at the opening, there was a long pole which was used to bat Balder out into the mirror.
Yeah, it was at least 10 feet long.
We could, touch things with a 10-foot pole.
I mean, sounds like a better idea than.
What are you guys doing?
I'm gonna
Warsong.
go back and get the pole.
Did Sophie leave?
She did.
Okay.
She's your biggest fan though.
Jeremy, I'm so sorry. We'll get to your character just as soon as we can, man.
Are there any sort of like pun points that you take away for?
Not in this game, although I do have a GM who runs games for me who I like to torment with as many puns as possible, and sometimes I think he keeps track. I don't keep track because I figure we live in a just universe.
So that's why all our rolls is bad.
Alright. So I'm going to attempt undoing the pole. Is there any difficulty in taking it off of the mechanism?
So you're going back up, and you're going to try to disarm the mechanism with the giant pole that is currently sprung load.
If it would be useful, I can help.
Does one of you have wood right?
How about I just take my long sword, or somebody take out their sword and reach out and take.
I mean, that's only like 3 or less feet. I mean, if something goes off, that's like your hand just goes off. I mean,
About how heavy is this thing, Richard?
Is what thing?
The 10-foot pole they're trying to get, because I imagine like a log or something. About that
It's
big.
like the spar of a mast or something, so it's about that big.
Oh.
It's pretty thick. It's pretty substantial.
So this thing could easily be 100 pounds.
Oh, it's probably more than that.
Okay, so more than 100 pounds.
I mean, alright. So, maybe
And
not
also,
that-
how are you going to get it up and around the rock?
Stop being so...
Well, is there any other part of them that we could use instead of both?
Do you have the wood right trait, Kelly Merritt?
No.
I mean, if you had a dwarf here, maybe they could take it to bits and make something new out of it. You could certainly try, but
Craft?
it would be craft.
Oh,
Good.
I can try that.
One sec, y'all. You're pretty sure, Baldur, if you failed, you would just set the trap off.
Oh.
It'd be a TN14.
I just want to say the only other dungeon that I've ever played where the traps rather than the monsters killed you was Tomb of Horrors.
Oh.
I could always disarm the trap first and then do that. But, well,
All right, what are you guys doing?
here we go.
Apparently, PJ wants to.
Can I disarm the trap first?
You can certainly try.
Would that be a craft roll?
Yep, still a craft roll.
So are we back at the front?
Well, I got a 14 with a with an extraordinary.
Yeah,
success.
they all went back up. Warsong, in the meantime, you can hear. So Baldur, Kalimirith, and Aldefons all went back up to the top of the tunnel to try and disarm the trap up there.
Okay.
And take it apart. In the meantime,
Why
where
are they disarming the trap up?
they went to
there?
take a piece of wood off of it and use it to sort of tap their way down the tunnel. In the meantime, where you're standing, you can now hear a song being sung by a sort of a shrill, cruel voice. And it is loud enough that you know you're probably no more than 10 or 15 feet left in this tunnel.
Okay, what does that get me?
What are you doing, Warsong?
I guess I'm waiting for them.
Okay. Baldur, you do manage
Is the tunnel like going straight? Is there a turn?
kind of
Like-
down, and then it levels out. You guess there's probably only 10 or 15 feet left.
And what is the voice singing?
Give me an awareness roll. It seems to be about a song about dismembering a small bird, but it is difficult to tell more than that.
Okay.
I hope that's not me singing.
I just assumed this entire time that it was Jeremy.
All right, Baldur, you managed to disable the thing, and actually, the boom itself and the axle that it was pivoting on are far too large and unwieldy to be used for anything useful. But remember that there were two basically bows that were being used to spring load this contraption, and they're both about 6 or 7 feet long.
All right.
So
well,
after
now-
you disarm it, it's easy to take one of those, unstring it, and it would probably more or less serve your purposes.
Okay, well that's. I grab one of those and head back up, over, and through, and back to Warsaw.
All right. What are you guys doing?
And here, Warsaw. Let's try this so that we at least will spring the traps before we get there, not after.
That would have really helped with the rock.
Well, I mean, hopefully not all the traps are as badly designed as that one was.
Well,
Or
if,
maybe-
if she'd sprung that trap before she got to it, she would have been squished.
Actually, I mean, the way that trap worked, now that you guys have seen it, tapping it wouldn't have done anything because it takes a certain amount of weight to trigger the...
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can at least clear the dirt to see it. So,
All right.
All right, so you're kind of tapping your way down?
Yeah, and by the way, somebody's singing about dismembering birds.
oh, lovely. Let's go see who it is.
All right.
That is
So-
a very bad idea.
So with Warsong and Sigaroon in front, you kind of make your way down. And right about 10 feet ahead, the tunnel slopes out and widens ever so slightly. Warsong, you're able to kind of straighten for the first time. Not all the way, but close to it. And ahead of you, in the larger mouth of the tunnel, as it widens out into a cave, you are almost blinded by the light of the fire. It's not a large fire, but it is definitely, it's the first really bright thing you've seen since you came down in this cave. The room itself is small and foul-smelling, although it looks more or less tidy, but you see a number of kind of unusual things which strike your notice as you kind of first look around this room. The first thing that you see is that at the far end of the left side of the cave as you come in, there's what appears to be a very small loom. And when I say very small, an almost child-sized loom set up with an ugly, nondescript green and gray, half-finished, badly frayed piece of fabric currently on the loom. Sitting next to the loom, on a small rocking chair, you see the head of a woman. And it takes you a minute to realize, in fact, probably don't even realize it quite right away, that the head is actually a stone head. It's a marble head. And around the head of this very beautiful, very cruel looking stone face, around the brow you see woven a kind of a garland of horrible looking marsh weeds. All of this takes some time to register because off to the right of the fire, on the other side, you see what appears to be a halfling. Very thick, kind of nut brown skin, very dirty hair, one eye kind of swollen shut, the other eye kind of squinting, peering out into the darkness. It's a female halfling, and she appears to be basting something. which at second glance you realize is the unconscious body of a woodman.
Oh, hi, Jeremy.
Welcome to the campaign, Jeremy. Yeah, she's basting him. She's got like a little thing of butter and a little brush,
Eat this thing.
and she's
Does she have any weapons close to her?
you don't see any. But as you come in, she's singing, "Little skylark, lovely little skylark, little skylark, I'll pluck your feathers off. I'll pluck the feathers off your head, off your head, off your head. Little lark,
Warsaw
little
is going
lark.
to step forward
Ooh,
with her
little
hand on her
sky."
axe.
She kind of turns, and her one good eye kind of glitters at you out of the darkness. Oh, looks as though we've had company arrive just in time for dinner. Sit down, sit down. And as you all are you all kind of filing in?
I think so, yeah.
May I do an awareness check and look for a spider?
Give me an awareness test. Sit down. And she kind of numbers you off. 1, 2, 3, 4. It seems to be spider-free war song,
Okay, even with a Gandalf?
even with the Gandalf. 1, 2,
I'm going
3, 4. Oh, you're very pretty. She kind of points at you, Calimirith.
Warsong is stepping over to the fire and untying dinner.
Oh, dinner's not on the fire. Dinner's kind of like laid off to the side and like being prepared.
I find that a little bit of sage really helps bring out the mud.
Can I use Leechcraft to wake him up?
Yes.
And can I use all the like scared a woman?
All right. So, war song. You, kind of cut the cords binding this man's hands and wrists and kind of smack him in the face. And Mirkwood, as you awaken, you find the, let's say, rather concerned-faced Warsong leaning over you, and the room full of strange new people whom you have never seen before. But you do recognize that at least Warsong and Aldefuns are woodmen like yourself. This room that you're in, you have no memory of this place. You do remember, the last thing you remember was arriving at Hag Island, following up on some of the rumors which Lord Modred's men had heard. And you had come to investigate for yourself. And the last thing you remember was climbing up the back face of the rock, trying to lower yourself down into the cave, and something hitting you in the face. And that's the last thing that you remember. You have no idea how long you've been out. Or where your dog is.
Oh, that's right. I asked Warsong, where am I?
This is the cave of the Mirror Maiden.
Little skylark, lovely little skylark. So,
Who is not her?
tell me. And she walks over to you, Calimirith, and she begins petting your hand and kind of stroking your hair. You notice one of her hands is missing a finger. Yes, you're very pretty. Yeah, you know, I've got 2 boys. You know, I've got 2 boys, and oh, they'd love to see you. Yes, they would. No mistake. Yes.
She just kind of like draws back and tries to get as far away as possible.
The Hobbit.
Would you mind terribly conking that bastard on the head?
She does not seem scared of you guys at all. In fact, she seems rather excited about having company.
Warsong's mostly ignoring her, and are there entrances and exits?
There is, at the far end of the room, there is a doorway fairly low cut, to the side of which you see the ruined remnants of whatever statue the head belonged to. On the one side, there's a woman's bust. On the other side of the doorway, there's what appears to be kind of a fish tail where the legs would have been.
Is there any writing on the statue?
Give me a search test.
Oh man.
Madam, very sorry to interrupt you.
The only thing that you find, Warsong, is a bit of graffiti that says Yumkin was here.
Excellent.
Warsong assumes that's one of her sons.
Ma'am, I don't think you can actually eat him. I mean, but if you like, I have these rations I brought with me that we could share if you'd be willing to, sit and chat for a bit.
As I said, I've got two sons. There's Yumkin. He's the strong one. He's the one that took his father's sword after we drowned him. Rest his soul. And then there's Lumpkin. Now Lumpkin, he's the clever lad. Comes up with all sorts of clever ways of keeping his mom safe.
I would very much like to meet your sons. But
Oh, yes, I knew once you heard about how clever they was. Oh, no, they're just downstairs. Yes. They'd be very, very excited about meeting you. Would you like me to call them up?
Maybe we should do introductions first.
Introductions. That's a good idea. My name's Yankin. What's your name?
Calimere.
Well, no, my dear, it's not your fault. And, it's a bit of a mouthful, but I'm sure we'll think of something. And now most of us in Clan Yankin, we have names like Yankin and Yumpkin and Lumpkin and this my daughter Fennel, but, I've never been sure she was my daughter, if you know what I mean.
I don't know what you mean. Do you not remember having heard? I mean...
Now Dan, maybe it'd be good for you to get to know my boys, and over dinner, nice and homely like, and then they can sort of decide which one of them gets you.
I think maybe they should have to fight over me. I do like seeing strong men.
No, I don't want to see my dear boys fight. What and saying how they're all I have left in the world, except for Fennel. But what's a daughter really? What a woman needs is sons.
I am not sure how to take that comment.
Well, maybe you can take it over dinner. We're just going to have this really nice gentleman what showed up last night.
And she turns to you, Margood.
Oh, someone's done and woke him up.
Yeah.
Oh,
dinner's
well,
ready.
never mind. We'll just have to eat him anyway.
We-
Am I still tied up or am I free now?
You're free.
I agree.
Okay, I'm thoroughly nonplussed right now, and I want to run downstairs and find the sons. I'm fighting that.
Okay, very good.
We're not eating anybody.
My name's Warsong. By the way.
It's very nice to meet you, Warsaw.
And
My
you
name
are
is Margood.
Margaret.
Yes. I am a woodsman from
No, you've gone to name dinner. You're not supposed to name dinner.
We're not eating dinner.
I mean, I could eat something.
Wrong with you?
Oh, you can eat dinner. You can't eat Margaret.
Right. We're not eating him, obviously, but
Warsong's going to toss her a piece of jerky for
Um,
dinner.
when the piece of jerky hits the ground, she just drops down and like begins savagely tearing into it like an animal. It is really disconcerting.
oh, well,
Well, yeah.
He sort of crouches down as she's eating.
my name's Adolphans, and I was wondering if you perhaps would like to maybe trade food for information. I don't have any beautiful daughters, or we can talk. But,
She's just not paying attention to you at all.
it's alright. sort of story
Whenever
of
she's
my
done.
life.
When she finishes, she just kind of looks up at you with like hungry yellow eyes. And the thing is, looking at her, she does not appear to be underfed. Like
Right.
she's fairly plump. But she just kind of looks at you almost savagely, Warsong. That's the
Can we
big-
tell if she's, I don't know, possessed or something? Or just crazy?
How would you tell that?
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. Her eyes aren't glowing or anything creepy. Like.
No, nothing like that. She is super creepy though.
Her,
Tell
head,
us about Fennel.
her head's not turning 180 degrees, is it?
Warsong's going to hold up a piece of jerky, but not hand it to her.
That's what I was gonna do.
You
Your
what do you
daughter.
want to know about Fennel for? There's nothing very interesting about her. She spent all her time down with the lady.
What lady?
What lady, she asks. What lady, she asks. What?
She kind of turns her head to one side, and she gets this really big smile on her face.
Oh, you haven't met the lady.
Is it the red lady?
Oh, Yankin understands now. You're here to see her. Ah, well, you wouldn't be the first.
Her head jerks around, kind of strangely towards you, Calimera.
Be sure as you comes back. When you're all done with the lady, I'd be quite excited to introduce you to my yumpkin and my lumpkin.
Okay, we will.
Warsong's going to toss her the jerky. And then hold up another piece. Tell me about the lady.
She kind of tilts her head almost like an animal, kind of sniffing the air and kind of pawing at the jerky.
The lady, she's the queen of all these lands. She's the river queen.
How long has she been the River Queen?
Hundreds and hundreds of days, months, years. Who knows? It doesn't matter. Old Yankin doesn't count 'em. No, we was here. Grand Yankin. We was here. I was here when the elves came. We was here when the tall men with the bright eyes, when they came. And we was here when the orcs came too. And always we waits. And always they're gone. But the lady's always here. She waits too. The men with bright eyes. Oh, they chained her up here, but she got free. She did, and the day's coming soon.
She kind of turns from the jerky and looks straight at you.
Day's coming very soon. When old Yankin, is gonna get what's hers.
Warsong's going to give her the jerky. Hold up another piece. What's yours?
What's mine? What's mine, she asks. Why? Who's been on these lands? Oh, all these years. It's not by your warnings, is it? Is it now? It's not. It's not the stupid gawking old man, is it? It's Yankin. What's been here? Why, the moon above and the stars in the sky and all the little beetles have crawled through the earth. While the fish jumps, while the bear growls, while the world gets old and tired. Old Yankin's been here, and someday all these lands is gonna belong to her. And you know,
Bless
you're
you,
not.
Fat Hobbit.
What was that?
I said, bless you, Fat Hobbit.
And you know, you're not hey, you're not quite as good looking as Mumpkin over there.
She points at Calimérith.
But well, I does have two sons, you know. You could be. There could be a place for you in my dynasty.
I'll keep that in mind.
I'd like a girl who knows what she wants. No, Yumpkin, no, he's got kind of a stupid face, but he's very strong, very big hands, you know. And this Lumpkin, he don't talk much, but he can see things.
What kind of things?
He saw how to build those clever traps. What gave you not so much trouble getting in here?
He does seem very smart.
Reckon that makes him smarter than any of you.
You must be very proud.
Yes, both of them. Now, Fennels, he's very disappointing, but you know what can you do? And it's fine. The lady needs a handmaid, I suppose. Now you.
She turns back to you, Warsong.
Got very wide hips, that's good. It's good birthing hips. It's what that is. Yes. Yes.
Thank
Yes.
Can I go up the passage a little bit while this is going?
Are you going up or are you going down?
I will go down slightly, like to the like.
Yeah, so there's just a doorway, and there's a heavy piece of old rotting leather basically covering it, but there's no actual door.
Okay.
So you just pull the leather back?
I'll go ahead and duck under the leather.
Okay. Aldefons.
I'm following right behind. I'm following Dolphins, by the way.
Okay. What are you doing, Margood?
Well, I was going to follow Aldefons, but I think someone ought to stay with Warsong and...
Okay.
Warsong is going as well. I mean,
Okay.
Oh,
leaving. Warsong's not going to stick around talking about her hips.
As you're walking away, Warsong, you hear the clack of the shuttle, and the loom begins to go again.
I guess it'll be 2 wedding dresses what I has to finish.
Can I want to glance at the loom. What exactly is she making? Is there
Man,
anything in progress?
whatever it is, it's gonna be horrifying.
Okay.
It's probably
Warsong has heard stories about looms. They're important.
Yeah.
You don't burn them, or you do.
or
know.
you do. Yep. Yeah, that's fair. All right. As you all kind of progress, you hear the clack and the of the loom and the shuttle going behind you, and you all progress downward into the opening. You progress all downward. Jeremy, I thought you married that daughter off. Was that Sarah?
No, that's Courtney. She's
okay.
She's 16. She got a piercing that's bleeding, so thankfully I'm very healed with the healing arts.
Yes. Good job. All right, so you kind of pull the leather curtain back as you step down into the lower room. The stench, which had greeted you previously, is now almost unbearable here. There is, in the center of the room, a very large pile of old bones. And sitting on the pile of bones, and actually they leap to their feet as Aldefin steps into the room, you see 3 figures. The first 2 are 2 small feral hobbits. One of them is actually almost dwarf size. You assume that this is Yamkin. He is, in fact, very stupid looking.
Well, he's the one I want.
Yeah, just very, very beefy little hobbit, but super stupid looking. And as you come into the room, he draws an old rusted sword out of his belt. No scabbard or anything. It was just sort of tucked into his belt. What's this then? And next to him, you see a smaller, kind of a keen-eyed hobbit who leaps up and also draws a knife. Doesn't say anything, but he just kind of glares at you. And sitting behind the 2 of them, you see the huge, painted figure of one of the Skadugangas.
What? Oh, what?
And he had been apparently just sort of sitting deep in thought, and as he looks up at you, he tilts his head to one side and he says, "It's Warsong, I believe, isn't it?"
Oh, thank you.
is.
You don't recognize me, do you?
Do I?
He kind of raises a hand and smears some of the war paint away. And you see the face, much older, extremely haggard, of Athalar.
Why are you here?
Why am I here? Ah, it's... I did go home. I did. And then your precious war leader found me. An army of orcs, wolves, and men in dark cloaks came one night, burned the village to the ground. Felt rather familiar, actually.
Well, as a matter of fact, it does, because people dressed like you came and burned my farm to the ground.
Kind of ignores you.
Everybody does. It's alright.
I tried to confront him about it, and of course, he said I was lying. He outlawed me. Well, you want to make a man an outlaw? An outlaw's gotta do what an outlaw's gotta do. The woodman wouldn't listen to me, but I found somebody who would. And he looks off to his right, and you can see off to the right and to the other side of the bone pile, there is a small opening in the bottom of the cave, and you can hear the gentle rippling of water. And there's almost a faint green luminescence coming from the opening to that particular cave. The woodman wouldn't listen, so I found somebody who would. Your farm, was it? Turns to you, Aldefund.
and my wife, and my children.
It's a terrible thing, this pain we share.
I'm not sure how closely we share it.
You see, that's the thing
And
about
I
pain.
haven't come and killed your family. At
Didn't?
least not yet, anyway.
But you see, that's the thing about pain. See, what I learned all those years in slavery in the East, escaping with Sanyar, trying to get my own back and have it, only to have it snatched away from me again. What I've learned through all that is there's no right, there's no wrong to what we do. The only thing you can do in this life is to try your best and see that your score is settled. So, I don't remember your wife and your children. Probably wasn't even me, it was probably just some of my men, but Mogdred or no Mogdred, war leader or no war leader, army or no army, I'm not gonna stop until everyone who calls Mogdred Lord has felt as much pain as I have felt, has screamed as I have screamed over the bodies of their mother and their sister and their wives and their wee little babes. He stands up, draws a sword.
Elephants. Draws an arrow.
All right.
No, before we get to the killing. I don't count Mogdred my lord any more than you do. I think he's power hungry. Snake, I think he is. Lack of a better way of putting it.
Do you really think that's gonna scar you any points?
Well, no, I just think that maybe when I'm done killing you, you should just feel a little worse about it, just because you didn't have to do it.
And as you're talking, you realize that the two hobbits have kind of moved around to flank your group, and I'm going to need everyone to go ahead and choose stances.
Oh, good, we're killing hobbits now.
Is this really how you want to introduce yourself, your potential bride, your
Oh,
mother wanted you?
Don't worry, they're going to take the women alive. All right, so
First song is. Yeah.
Can we roll? Can we all roll battle?
you may roll battle to see if you get advantage dice. Because you were in close quarters at extremely low lighting, all ranged combat will be at a -4 penalty.
That's the only thing I'm good at. This is my first fight as me.
And so, Jeremy, if you want to, you can make a preparatory battle roll to see if you see any way to basically kind of use the terrain to your favor.
I'm gonna spend a point of hope to get mine. That'll
Okay.
get me. That will just get me there.
All right.
Um.
Worst you get 2 bonus dice.
Okay. So there's no penalty to using a bow. You just aren't as good as it.
It's a -4 penalty to your roll. So basically, you have a -4 modifier to using a bow in this terrain.
But do I get an opening volley?
No, because they're too close. Like they're like spitting distance. So, are you just going in and attacking, Jeremy? Is that what we're doing?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I was.
No, it's okay. It's all right. All right, so
Were
this
you
is
trying to use your dagger though?
I was getting ready to use my dagger, and I think I.
this is your first combat in Tor.
Yeah.
So we will say a couple of things. First of all, as you kind of walked in, you found your weapons kind of leaning up against the wall, so you can grab them up and use your axe if you want to. If you want to use, you can make a free battle roll at the beginning of the fight, so that uses the battle skill. If you succeed, you grant it grants you some bonus success die. Basically, it's basically making a tactical assessment about the battlefield at the start of combat, and that will give you bonus dice, which you can spend to make the outcome of your roll more successful. So if you want to go ahead and roll battle, you can do that now. All right, Jeremy, this is going to be your first skill roll of the game, so you want it to be really high to set a good precedent.
Okay, so
You got to show those dice who's boss.
I've clicked on the die and I see.
Yes. It'll ask you for a TN. It'll be 14. You might have to move your character sheet to see it.
Okay, so this is an advanced roll. Target number is 14
Uh-huh.
and roll.
Yep. That turned out weird for some reason, but that is what we wanted to do. So,
That's a Gandalf, though, right?
yeah, it's a Gandalf, so you automatically succeed.
Woohoo!
Do you only have a 1 in do you have nothing in battle?
I obviously didn't read correct. What am I supposed to be saying? I'm sorry.
No. I was just looking to see if you actually didn't have anything. No, you've got 1 in battle. So I'm not sure what you rolled. So open your
roll a D6.
so open your character sheet.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So under common skills, middle column, you see battle down at the bottom.
Yes.
And then to the left of the battle, there's that D12 icon that you can kind of click on.
Oh, that. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that. All right. So you did get a Gandalf a minute ago, which I'm going to let stand, but that's how you do the roll. So.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. All right. So you got 1 bonus success die. So basically, that's an extra 6-sided die, a D6 that you can roll anytime during the combat. You only get to use it once, and you have to declare that you're using it before you make your roll. Okay. But it is a bonus die that you can spend. So if something comes up that you feel is really important, that'll be, that's when you can use it. All right. So the initiative, basically the order that we fight in, is based on where you stand, or rather what stance you're fighting from. So we go in stance order. So everyone in the forward stance goes first, then the open stance, then the rearward stance.
Do I want to be in forward?
Well, Warsong, are you going to do an all row? Because I have 3 in all, so.
I have 4 in endurance.
Somebody should definitely be singing.
I don't know why you guys had such a rough time getting in.
Oh no, maybe traps, giant rock fell on my head.
Yeah, I'll do the singing this round because we're gonna need Cove to avoid feeling weary.
Alright, so I guess I'm up first.
Actually, the bad guys are up first, and then you're up.
They're up first?
Well,
They are.
Is it because they attacked us?
Well, they were closing in around you guys, and then daggers were drawn, so I think they're up first.
Okay.
Unless you guys are... Are you guys standing there waiting for them to come at you?
No.
Okay.
I would not think so.
All right.
Warsong is not gonna be the first to attack.
Yep. All right.
She's
So, at seeing you step forward into an aggressive stance, Balder, Atheler lunges at you. You take...
Ooh!
Oh, dang.
That's 13 points of damage.
13 points of
As he
Down?
almost bowls you over with his short sword.
No, I have 3 points of endurance left.
The 2 smaller hobbits, one of them jumps on your back, Calimirith, and starts shouting,
She's mine! This one's mine! I got the pretty one! I got the pretty one!
You take 5 points of damage as this hobbit pulls your hair and whacks the side of your head with the pommel of its sword, trying to knock
I
you
would
out.
think that as weird inbred hobbits, they might have slightly different.
Slightly different what?
Their standards of beauty might be.
I think elves are sort of universally pretty.
Okay, wait. So that was 5 points of damage.
Yeah, 5 points of damage. The other one, the quick, clever one, tries to trip you up, Warsong, and bring you down. Possibly in hopes of dragging you off somewhere. Does not succeed in doing so at all, mostly because you're large and have great birthing hips.
Yep.
Large to the hobbit. I'm sure Warsong is very attractive to, Beorning males of a certain age or something. But okay, that's it for them. So Baldur, you're up.
I am going to trade the blow, and I'm going to go ahead and spin my die.
All right, give me an attack roll.
22 and an extraordinary success. I've still got. I guess it.
Still got it.
All right, so that's 15 points of damage.
Yep. 15 points of damage. Does that take him down? No, I'm holding it two-handed, so it would be 7 points of damage.
So you're
plus
not
the-
using your shield?
I don't have a shield.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that's 17 points of damage.
All right, 17 points of damage. I think that sounds like a good time to spend a point of hate. All right. You lay into him with your sword, and perhaps it's because of the berserker frenzy that he seems to have gone into, but it doesn't do nearly as much damage as you would have thought it should. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Warsong, Calimirith, and Margood, you're up.
Warsong is going to do Rally Comrades to avoid the one that avoids
The effects of weariness.
feeling weariness.
Okay. Give me a song roll.
Thank you.
So that's 3 rounds.
Yeah.
All right. So for the next 3 rounds, if you were weary, you can ignore that. And Calimirith and Margood, you're up.
Can I change stance?
Yep.
Okay. I'm going to think. Do I really want to do this? It's so terrible.
Oh, yeah, she has.
I intimidate. Oh, it didn't necessarily drop. I mean, I'll probably get extra to the bottom.
You're breaking up a bit. Would you say, Augusta?
Oh, does it automatically draw their attack on me? Does it?
Intimidate foe? No.
Okay. Well, that's what I do.
All right. Go and roll.
Roll, right?
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
So that means if I take the intimidate, okay, I add my valor to the amount of hate my enemies lose on a success. And if I succeed on my awe or battle roll with a Gondolf, I may immediately make an attack roll.
All right. So first of all, what I hate. That's really overpowered. Who gave you that weapon?
It's a magic sword. Okay,
It is a magic
so I
sword.
add
Okay.
my
So what's your valor?
3.
Holy crap! Really?
Yes.
All right.
I leveled it up because then I could unlock another skill on my sword.
So as darn. Okay. Wow. So as you reveal Atarangi, you see Margood. You've never seen the blade Atarangi unsheathed in rage before. And as this elf draws the blade at her side, it seems to almost shine with its own wrathful light as she holds it aloft, aloft and shouts a loud elven war cry. And you see the two hobbits shrink back in complete and abject terror. One of them, the one that was on top of her, is now like just cowering with both of his hands over his head, crying very loudly as a small pool of urine forms around his feet. Go and make your immediate attack, Kelly Merith.
Stupid one.
Sorry, you're breaking up a lot, Augusta.
That's my stupid one, the one that I claimed.
Okay.
For you, should I try to?
Yeah, maybe drop out of the call and join again
Hold
or
on,
something.
I'm going this call.
And then Margaret, be thinking about what you want to do.
Next, we need to get rid of all this Getagonga's 8 points.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be better. All right, who are you attacking, Kelly Merith? You attacking yours? You attacking poor stupid Yumpkin?
No. I'm gonna attack the Skadaganga.
All right. All right. Augusta, you whip Atarangi around, but the Skaduganga's Athler seems much less intimidated by the blade, and he raises his sword and parries. All right, Margaret, it is your turn.
All right. So can I move to the forward position?
You can.
This guy is basically spending all his hate till he's dead. Because that's basically what's happening right now. He's a berserker.
So do I click the die next to the weapon that I want to use on my character sheet?
So in this case, what you would do is click your token on the battle mat. Click your token. Okay. And you'll see those 4 buttons: dagger, great bow, long-hafted axe, one hand, long-hafted axe, two hand, appear in the upper left-hand corner.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So since you're using a shield, you'll want to use the long-hafted axe one-handed. So you click that button, click a target, modifier is 0.
And I'm going after the guy that looks like Meatloaf.
Okay. You attack Athler and bringing your long-hafted axe around, but maybe the circulation to your hands hasn't quite come back, or maybe it's just the fact that you're covered in butter and that makes everything very slippery. But you swing and you miss. And I will just say, because there are 2 people currently engaged with, or 3 people now currently engaged mainly with Athler, nobody else can be, because that's the max for a single. They've got raiding armies all over the place. All right, Aldefons, it's your turn.
Can I shoot him with an arrow?
You can certainly try. It'll be at a -6 because he's got 3 people in front of him, and it's very dark, and you're in very close, cramped quarters.
Alright.
But if anyone can do it, Aldefons can do it.
Well, I will start with hobbits then.
Okay, you're gonna shoot one of the cowering hobbits.
I feel bad about this. Oh.
Roll the hit.
I'm going to hit the big one.
All right, that's the one on the left.
Alright. It's alright, I missed him.
Your arrow pings off the bone pile with no effect.
That's called a
Don't
warning
shoot my
shot.
future husband, Aldefons!
Did you hear that? Did you hear that?
He kind of looks up from where he's cowering on the floor.
I knew it! I knew it!
Oh, you done it. He thinks it's a sure thing.
Let's see here. Athler is going to turn and attack you, Kalimirith, as your sword blazes out brightly. You're going to take 9 points of damage. And I think I will spend a point of hate to increase that to 13 points of damage. All right.
To me.
Yes, to you. And then one of the hobbits,
Okay,
Balder.
sorry, I'm still having trouble with sometimes.
Yeah, sorry. So it must be something in your connection tonight. Sorry. Yeah, so 13 points of damage for you. Balder, as you kind of reel under the blow, the impact of this Athler's last blow, the hobbit who's been newly reinvigorated with hope of wedded bliss lunges at you and hits you for 5 points of damage.
Who?
Athler, as you're staggering, all of a sudden this very sturdy hobbit hits you like a sack of potatoes, knocks you to the ground, and starts beating your face in with the pommel of his rusted sword.
Okay, I am down at the moment, so if somebody could sing to wake me back up, that would be nice.
And the remaining hobbit goes after Warsong again. Still hasn't said anything, but he is eyeing her with great interest. Warsong, you take 5 points of damage, and you actually need to make an armor test.
Man. Okay.
Question: if I fall back and have 13, do I round up or down?
Always round up.
Okay. And would I be able to sing on the next round, or is that...
You would not, because if you fall back, you skip your next turn.
That's what I thought. But just check.
All right. Warsong,
Can I spend?
you point of hope?
Yes. That avoids a wound, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Also, a lifetime of embarrassment.
Can I spend company hope for that? Can I spend company hope for that?
I'm fine.
Sure.
I think that seems like an appropriate time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It is y'all's turn. Callie, Meredith, and Margaret, you're up.
Can I can't do anything. Can I at least change?
Can you what? Sorry?
Can I change my stance?
Yes,
Even
but
if
that's
I
all
go
you can
back?
do.
Okay. Because I don't want to get hit this next round.
Margaret, it is your turn.
All right, let me find this again.
Duking it out with Meatloaf Face. Now with rolls like that, man. So you can spend a point of hope to add to any roll that you make.
That would be body.
For a melee attack, or any kind of attack, actually, you would add your body score, which in your case would be 4, which would get you to 10. Sadly, you need an 11, so that's not going to be quite enough. But you could spend a point of hope if you miss next time. All right, Warsong and then Warsong and then Aldefins.
Okay. Warsong is going to sing. This is to bring endurance up.
Okay.
Man. It would be 2 endurance if I spent company help on that. It's up to y'all.
I would be back up if
Right. Which seems like a general benefit.
All right, so you all regain 2 points of endurance as Warsong's song kind of fills all of you. So you're still already at max, Margaret, so it doesn't do anything for you. But Balder, Warsong, Kalimirith, Aldefins, you all regain 2 points of endurances. Warsong's song begins to fill the cavern around you, echoing off the close space, rattling the pile of bones, and you feel enheartened. Aldefins, it is your turn.
Can I go this round?
What's that? No, it is not your turn. Aldefins, it is your
right.
turn.
Right. So, is now that what's his face is down? Is he still engaged with 3 people? Could I shoot him with less of a?
Yeah, it'd still be at -4, but you could, yes.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to pick and sight my next arrow on the scattered gun guy. He's got it coming. So it's a -4, you said?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You can spin to make that.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that.
All right, Aldefins,
My oath of vengeance.
you draw the bow, take aim, release it at almost point blank range right into Athler's chest. He kind of looks down. And he barrels forward, attempting to.
Doesn't Balder get a turn?
Well, Baldur's turn comes after, not because of the stance he was standing in. No, because his turn comes before what Warsong did.
But can't he change his stance on his turn?
Well,
Yeah, I thought if
In the past, typically when somebody sings and wakes them up.
yeah, usually if you're in the same stance or one of the lower stances, I will allow it. You can't change stance. You're supposed to change stance at the start of the round, not the start of your turn. Usually we forget that. So in this case, I'm going to say he'll have to wait till it's actually his turn. Athler barrels forward and tries to knock you over, Margood, as he charges towards Aldefins. Margood, you take 9 points of damage.
Oh.
So you can subtract that from your endurance. As the other two hobbits.
Okay, real quick on that. So there's like 2 things of endurance. What's the one on the left?
Here, it's which one is lower now?
Oh, no, the one on the left.
Okay, then that's the one. I can never remember. On your token on the battlefield, if you just click on your token, you'll notice there are 3 bubbles above it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you click in the green bubble, which is your endurance, and you type -9 and hit enter, it automatically subtracts 9 from your endurance.
Okay.
All right, Balder, you've still got a guy with a short bat trying to bash your face in with a short sword on top of you, and he's going to continue to do so for 5 points of damage.
Oh, I'm back down again.
And Warsong, the other one is he's still trying to like bring you down to the ground to knock you out and drag you away. He deals 8 points of damage. It is top of the round. Margood, it is your turn.
Okay. Hey.
That will hit. Margood, how do you want to do this?
How do I want to do what?
How do you want to do this is sometimes a question we ask, like, if you kill the big boss, what does it look like? Like, normally I describe how combat is going, but if you get, like, the big kill, you get to describe how combat is going. So, like, what does it look like? Do you just take his head off? Do you say anything cool? No pressure. It doesn't have to be anything fancy.
This time until I get my wits about me. I'm still covered in butter, so I'm not in much.
That is fair. That is fair.
Not in much of a position to be.
Smelling slightly like a lobster about to be cooked.
Yeah, I just take the axe and separate his head from.
Yeah, you just, and his head drops to the ground, and rattles onto the bone pile. And that was the end of the last living witness to anything in Modred's past. As far as you guys know. Alright. It is your turn, Warsong.
I'm down again.
I'm sure there's other witnesses. Same. I mean,
If Athler was even telling the truth. He was a pretty shady guy.
I'm sure he's
What you doing, Warsong? Oh, Sophie seemed to have frozen up. Okay, Kelly Meredith, what you doing?
I just think these hobbits. Should I try to intimidate foe again? Do they have more hope or hate that I should burn off?
Well, if you scared them, they definitely get scared of it. So
Yeah, they're already in a pool of urine, so I think we.
I mean, do you think there's any more pee I can scare out of these?
Actually, the
hobbits?
one that was covered in urine is currently beating Baldur's head in. So in addition to being unconscious, Baldur is also covered in hobbit pee.
So.
Sometimes you're the hobbit.
Give me an awe roll.
Alright. Well, so, I mean, I'm just asking because you guys have played the game longer than me. Do you think they have more hate to be burned off? That's all it does.
Oh, I mean, they eat woodmen.
I mean, because they have a specific, like, amount of hate that...
I have no idea. We've literally never fought halflings ever.
Yep.
Well, what the heck?
they have a lot of. They do have a lot of hope. So
It's true. So I suppose if it swings back the other
Alright, so
direction.
I'm gonna do another... Yeah. We're gonna do that. Oh, snap. Okay.
Would you like to spend a point of hope?
I'm not exactly swimming in it myself, so... I think no. We'll save that for when we really need it.
All right, all the funds.
Alright.
Uh,
I suppose we're just going to kill all the little people now. It feels wrong somehow, but I suppose.
Hey, Sophie.
Hi.
What you doing?
What do you mean? What am I doing?
It is your turn and Aldafin's turn.
Already? I just.
If you said we could not hear you.
Do what?
It is your turn, babe. What you doing?
I just had a song roll. Have y'all gone all the way around since I rolled?
We cannot see your song roll. What did you roll?
Oh my goodness, you can't see it. It was the most amazing thing. I got a 25. I rolled and I got 2 6s and you didn't see that?
Do you have it? I mean, I trust
I
you.
don't, because my internet went down. And I've been trying to
No,
contact it
yeah.
ever since.
well, we'll accept that.
All right. So what did you get? You got a 25 and an extraordinary
25
success.
and there were 2 6s in there.
So 2, 3. So everyone regains 4 endurance. All right, and then all the funds. What are you doing?
Will you get this hobbit off me, so I can
Oh, fine.
survive long enough to stick my sword through it?
I feel they're not very big.
Are you attacking?
Yes, not
All
very
right.
well.
Woohoo! They got
Yeah, no. All right. At this point, both halflings kind of look around and they see Athlar's head kind of landing down. Actually, as Yumkin is currently beating Baldur's face in with the hilt of his sword, he looks over and he sees Athlar staring at him, and he says, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And then he looks over. "Oh shoot, Yumkin! It's time we went to see the lady." And the two of them scramble down the lower entrance.
Can I roll athletics to see if I can grab the one on top of me?
That would be a dagger roll.
Okay.
Unarmed combat is dagger.
Okay. See if I can catch. Is he the one on the left or one on the right?
One on the left.
Boy, I did not catch.
Not with rolls like that. You kind of snatch at him as the two of them scramble away down the hole and disappear. And suddenly, the room is quiet again, except for the steady click and shuffle of the loom in the room that you just came from, and the gentle rippling of the water in the cave below. And I think we'll stop right there for the night.
I'm not sure I like the sound of them fetching the lady or talking to her, but yeah.
All right. Well, did you guys have a good time?
Uh-huh.
Jeremy, how was it? First session?
I need to get the hang of like the positions to take and what
Yeah. It's
A
no
lot of
trouble.
Yeah,
everybody
that
was-
takes some time.
a lot of what everybody was saying about like spending hope and stuff like that. So I think I need to, now that I've been through it, I'll reread some of the
Yep.
stuff you sent, Richard.
Yep.
and,
Cool.
It'll make more sense this time.
And you can ask stuff in the chat too, because actually everyone else on this call has more experience on the player side of this particular game than I do, because I'm always running. So they can answer good questions about like what are effective options and stuff like that.
But can I ask like a
Yep.
retroactive question?
Mm-hmm.
So, Balder was like really wounded, and actually so was Aldafoons, and I'm particularly healed at healing.
Yep.
Could I have done anything to heal them
So
like, while you were monologuing as the guy that starts with A? Or thank you.
So the way that Athler, the way that healing works in this game, so there's your endurance, and endurance is basically like your stamina, how well you can keep up. Okay, and then there is so there's endurance, and then there is there's wounds. So losing endurance is actually not like, if you go down to 0 endurance, you don't die. That's not actually losing health. It's just running out of stamina. Basically, you're getting worn out. And you can get worn out dodging and fighting and getting knocked around, but it's not a serious wound. It's not a serious injury. Typically, if you lose endurance, you'll recover it within a day or two. Sometimes more, depending on how fast you recover. But a wound would be if you failed your protection test. So there were a couple of protection tests, like the one that Warsong made, where if she had failed, she would have taken a wound. A wound is like serious, grievous injury. It's the kind of thing, and you can operate as normal when you have a wound, but once the fight is over, you have to have the wound treated, and that's where your healing would come in. If a wound goes untreated, or if you get 2 wounds, the character dies. So that's where your healing would come in. So healing doesn't actually help anyone recover endurance, but if somebody were to gain a wound, like a serious life-threatening wound, you would be in a good position to treat it.
Okay, so falling off of the cliff into the pointy rocks
Right.
in the mare did not count as...
It wasn't a wound because he succeeded at his protection test. If he had failed at it, then he would have taken a wound.
Okay,
And then that's when your services would have been required.
okay.
Wounds are, fairly rare, but they do happen, and when they happen, they're a much bigger deal. So,
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
all right. Everyone have a good time?
Yeah. Good
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
Sorry about the Hobbit you're in, PJ.
Yes, the experience points.
You will get 1 XP for tonight. And so you can mark that down on your sheet, Jeremy. There should be a place for unused experience down towards the bottom of the sheet. So you get 1 experience point for tonight, and make sure when you're making skill tests that you're kind of checking off those advancement points as you go, because that's important. So,
Also,
yes,
Balder is going to take Appler's head and like wrap it in some cloth or something.
fair enough.
Take it back to
Nice.
Modred.
I'm sure that Mogdred will be extremely appreciative, PJ. Yeah. Yep. All right.
Some butter if you want.
Warsong might take issue with that, but I'll let you know at the beginning of next session.
Yeah, all depends too.
So next session, hopefully, we will wrap up things with the Red Queen, one way or the other. And then we're going to be doing a fellowship phase. So one of the things to look at between now and then would be what fellowship phase action you might want to take, and it will be the year-end fellowship phase. And then we'll be starting up again next gaming year with a folk moot at Woodman Town. All right, good night, everyone. Thanks for playing, and we'll talk to you on the chat. We'll see you all again in a couple of weeks.